right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Scratching Post. I am your host, Arthur Ward, and this is the show where we talk about everything here, athletics at the University of Regina. We talk about all the sports, all the athletes, and all the people that are involved in the sports, and today is no different. I have today on the show someone who's won their 5A provincial high school championships with the Lobolis Golden Suns in 2018 and 2019. They were also selected as a 2021 Basketball Saskatchewan Senior Classic All-Star, a 3-year member of the provincial program playing for Team Saskatchewan in 2017, and 2024 Canadian Collegiate Flag Football All-Star, the 4th year 5'7" receiver and defensive back, none other than the talented and the amazing Brenna Metz. Brenna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So I gotta say, you were on the provincial program playing for Team Saskatchewan in basketball in 2017 and
2019, and I believe 2018 as well.
So 2017, 2018, and 2019. Basketball player. I think we all know that. We've been on a basketball team for 4 years now. The basketball team has had a good run of success. However, I want to start talking about flag football. Last year at the Canadian Championships, you were named as an All-Star. So tell me about that. Tell me about the championships last year and where they were hosted, who you guys played, and what were some of the highlights of that championship?
They were hosted in Montreal. We're usually heading up over to Montreal or Ottawa for those nationals. They have an established flag program there, lots of teams at basically all the universities. Our program sends 2 teams up, our Cougars green and Cougars yellow. It's just kind of a way then we get to develop and establish ourselves out there. When we send 2 teams, we get more competition. It's really fun. It's a lot of fun. You see some great competition out there, really different from what we have in Saskatchewan and what kind of we have even around in Can West here. Our team struggles a bit. We try to find competition around here. We play in the adult winter flag football league. That's kind of a little... We don't see as much competition there. We play each other, our Cougars green and our Cougars yellow. And then we kind of have a few other teams that enter, but it's max 4 girls teams. And then the past few years, Saskatoon has had a team. So we go up there once during April, kind of just to play them. But still, it's kind of just minimal competition. So when we head up to Montreal, it's for sure for our first years. I mean, this is the 4th year the program's been running. It started in my first year of university. The competition kind of hits them quite hard, because I will give credit to those Quebec teams. They've been running for forever. They know the same girls. They've been going hard and they play all year round. And they have that competition established. Despite that, though, I actually think both our teams do quite well. We kind of come in as one-off team that they don't know about. And it kind of brings that same grittiness we see in Saskatchewan with all sports, even with our basketball team, our Rams, and same. Everyone says that we have that grit, that drive. So I kind of think it takes them off guard. Both teams have seen quite some success. In my first year, we finished 3rd, which was kind of a shock to everyone because they hadn't seen this program before, kind of came out of nowhere. My second year, my team finished 5th that year, kind of had a little trouble in the round robin there, but we came out the best we thought we could. And then last year, I had a really great tournament. I thought our team pushed. We finished 5th again that year. I was working both sides of the ball, which was great. I went into that competition really wanting to prove myself, especially when it came out that flag football was going to be in the Olympics. That was kind of a driving force for sure for me. I was trying to establish myself with those coaches and those programs there, just tell you I can compete with you guys even though you're year round and I'm not doing as much or have as much opportunity as you do here. So yeah, that was really a driving force for me. So yeah, I was working both sides of the ball, scoring the touchdowns, interceptions, doing as much as I can to try to get a win, try to beat some of those teams and prove ourselves.
So is that your goal? Is that one of your goals at the moment to potentially make a bid for Team Canada for the upcoming 2028 Olympics?
For sure. How it's kind of ran in the past is there's a senior women's nationals, and you kind of compete, and the team that wins that becomes Team Canada, and then they kind of select like 5 players from there, and they go to these competitions. That runs every 2 years. So obviously that's been a goal, and this year they're going to China at the end of August. So I'm kind of trying to make a push, see if I can be one of those 5 players that make it onto that team. And then with the Olympics, like they've had some online combines. I've submitted my scores for all of that. As soon as basketball's done after nationals, I'm heading up to Edmonton that next weekend to go to a in-person combine, trying to prove myself there. So yeah.
Okay, we got a lot to unpack here because I know there's a basketball looming large over on one side, and we've got this, flag football here on the other side. There are 2 big sports, physical sports, and I'm curious to see how they overlap and how you balance both. But before I get there, tell me a little bit about the flag football here at the university. Like, what is it? Is it, how is it played? When do you play? How big is the team? Let us know.
Yeah, the team, I said how it works before is we have a Cougars green and a Cougars yellow. So we have 2 teams, try to have it compete like that. We practice on Thursday nights, actually here at the university on the gym floors. Just kind of, it's hard getting turf or facility, especially in the winter. Yeah, so our 3rd year, we were kind of not expecting a lot out of it, but we really pushed that with social media and stuff like that because we really wanted to make the program more looking elite and less of like a club and looking more like as a varsity. So we wanted a bunch of girls coming out so then we could make cuts and make it look like it's more that elite competitiveness and then really get the best of the best athletes around. At the university, of course, myself, as we've said, I play on the basketball team, but we actually have quite a few members on the team who play other sports here, whether that's hockey, soccer, rugby, track and field. And I think that's really what we need. We need that push of either former athletes or current athletes in other sports to come play because a lot of those skills transfer over, I find, with flag football. And that's definitely where I saw my success with my power in basketball and stuff like that, my hands, my ability to run and like quick feet like that. So I think those skills definitely transfer over from any sport we can see. So it's great that we've seen other student athletes come in and step into this flag football role and play it. With my coaches, I've seen they've been really good with compromising almost. Of course, like practicing on Thursday nights when I'm traveling for basketball on the weekends, like I tell my flag coach, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I won't be here this weekend. He's like, I totally understand. And then we play Sunday nights, so then that also works out. I come back from our tournaments or our games on the weekends, play late Sunday nights. The games are at 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30. So that's really fun. It was a little tough in my first year to get used to that. Just kind of going from, hey, you're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday's supposed to be your off day, and then I'm playing a game instead.
So do you get any off days?
I try to take this, like, most of the Sunday morning off, relax, sleep in, of course. Yeah, it definitely took a lot of my body getting used to it.
Yeah.
And I know people are going to say I'm not very old because I'm only 22, but I'm athlete old and I'm starting to feel it. So
Athlete old, I like that.
So I'm definitely had to make a change and make sure like I'm stretching after every practice, and then taking ice baths, whether it's like that, and then just like really making sure I'm taking care of myself. Because if I don't, like, even that Monday practice for basketball, it's like, okay, I'm feeling this, like, yeah.
So then, do you think because you're playing another sport, playing basketball, does that allow you when you go to football? Do you think to play both sides of the ball, or is it common for a lot of people playing flag to play both sides?
I definitely think it is the basketball that helps me playing both sides of the ball, and that's what I'm used to when I'm playing sports too. So I think that's always, like, even when sometimes my coach for flag pulls me, he's like, you won't play defense this half or something. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I want to, like.
But you got to play defense for basketball, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's like, I'm very used to like having both perspectives of the ball and both sides of the ball. So that definitely has really helped me.
So the football keeps you kind of in tune during basketball season. And then when you get into football season, like all of that, cardio, all of that fitness, you kind of just dump it all into football.
Yeah, for sure. And I also see like the football skills transferring over to the basketball as well. Like when we press in basketball, it's like Wayne, who runs most of our press, and Michaela, they're like, well, we want you at half because you can intercept those balls, and half the time I'm either getting hands on it or tips on it there. So I love doing that. Or even we were talking about some end of game inbounds plays, throwing it over, and they're like, well, why wouldn't we have Metz there? Like Dave says she's got the best hands on the team. So
and she can run routes.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. So what got you into flag football? Like what was the thing that made you jump into it?
I actually did start when I was like in youth, like very young age. When I did start that, I was playing on boys teams just because it hadn't really established as a female sport yet. So I was on some co-ed teams. And then after that, it was kind of, I had basketball friends that were like, hey, maybe we should play flag in the summer just for fun. So we kind of just made an all-girls team. Same thing, we had to play in the boys division, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like we were all having fun together, like practicing. So it was just like extra time. And it was, at that point, we had seen it as just like, almost like a stress reliever from basketball because we did take it less serious at the moment. And then I kind of aged out from that team because I have a late birthday. But so I joined another team with some other friends who had kind of taken it more seriously. And then at that point, we're like, hey, let's enter the competitive division. The female league had kind of developed a bit more. And then after playing that competitive division, they'd opened it up. There was now a Team Sask. So then we were like, hey, let's try to win this tournament. Then we become Team Sask. So that was the first year I played with them, and we actually won that tournament. So we got to go up to Halifax for as Team Saskatchewan at a flag football tournament, and it was a lot of fun. Like you got to meet lots of other athletes from all over Canada. Got to hang out with our team, like walk around Halifax. They sent also a Team Saskatchewan boys team, so it's like we got to hang out with them, like meet a few other people, and I was like, hey, this is like really fun, like taking it more seriously. Being more competitive with it. And then the next year we won it again, became Team Sask, and nationals were actually in Regina. I was playing on Team Sask for basketball at the time too as well. So it was kind of a crazy weekend. I played nationals here in Regina. My parents drove me to the airport. I flew to BC to go to Team Sask basketball nationals, and then I got to play there, and then I came back. Yeah.
Now you got to be like, that's hella busy in terms of having, playing two sports first of all, but it sounds like there's a lot of people on the Regina team that play flag that also play other sports. Do you notice like there's one sport that sort of brings more people into flag more than another one?
I've definitely seen the most for us has been hockey, actually.
Okay.
And I've noticed that in other provinces as well. And I think that's just because of like size, like they're strong, they're pretty actually quick, like skating and stuff. So I think that transfers over a bit. Yeah. Soccer has been very popular in the youth, I've noticed especially, and I think that's just because they're
playing on
movement.
turf.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of you see similar things. I mean, I feel it's a different transition for them definitely because you got to use your hands now.
Yeah.
And even track I see quite a bit as well, just because you got to be quick in flag. And because that's a big thing. You have limited field size. You got 3 downs. It's quick. It's a quick game.
So what's the most memorable moment you've had playing flag?
I think my first year in university when we ran the program and we won 3rd at nationals. We were playing a team from Nova Scotia. It was kind of a tough game, back and forth the whole time. And then it was kind of just those last like few minutes of the end there that we just kind of made this push. We had scored, and then it was like, okay, they made a big play. They kind of got it close to the end zone. I was like, okay, we just got to play great defense. And we knocked it down, and then that was the game. And I just remember it was kind of like a perfect scenic moment. I have a video of it, but there's the sun setting in the back. It's like cool skies, and then it's just all of us like storming onto the field cheering because we kind of proved ourselves that year, and we came out and we medaled, and that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to really establish ourselves that first year and like really come in with a bang. So I think we kind of hit our goals like right off the bat, and that just really like transferred over into the next year, and we knew like, hey, this program's going to keep building, and we're going to see like flag take off.
So that kind of like cemented it for you that, oh yeah, flag football, this is definitely, I want to keep going down this road.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned off camera that you did a virtual combine. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that and what that whole process was.
Yeah, so you downloaded this app called Purple Shift. You scan like the QR code, you registered under the Football Canada kind of user. They kind of have you create an account similar to like Instagram, like you can follow people, whatever, search people up. Then you click on the combine you want to like register for. It gives you what they need from this combine. So ours was like 40, 10 yard, 5, 10, 5 drill, which is like the shuffle, vertical jump, height. So just record videos of yourself doing all those activities. You submit them on the app, and then you kind of goes through one by one video, an AI analysis. An AI looks at the video and kind of like gives you your score based on what it.
So I got a question for you. What did that AI score you the highest on?
It scored me the highest on my 5-10-5.
Okay,
Yeah.
so which makes sense. You do a lot of that in basketball.
Yes, yeah. And my score, it was actually pretty close. My score was quick for that. It was quicker than, like, I was talking to Jace, our basketball trainer, because he actually helped me out with, like, taking the videos and using whatever. And I was quicker on that, and compared to like how where you're supposed to be from your 10 and your 40. Okay. So yeah, it's definitely that change of direction and stuff like that helps.
Which makes sense why you can play defensive back pretty well, because of that change in direction. You can really lock on to your person you're covering and just stick with them.
Yeah, for sure.
There we go. My last question here before we take a quick break is, tell me a little bit about flag football. The audience may just not know too much of the intricacies around that particular sport. They may just think, oh, it's just football with flags. But explain to us what makes flag football unique and how it's different than regular football.
Well, first of all, of course, got the flags. We kind of talked about that.
So what are the flags? Why are they important?
It's a belt on your hips, and you got 2 flags coming at the side. And when you're going to like tackle someone, you pull the flag instead. As soon as that flag comes out, ball's dead on the spot. You have 3 downs to get to half, and then 3 downs to score after that. So it is kind of a shorter field. I think it's 25 yards both sides there. I think I'm right on that.
In the summer, I know they play flag football out here on the Rams practice field. And how many flag football fields do they fit on one football field?
They fit 4 on the Rams field.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that gives you, for the audience, that will give you just a sense of scale in terms of the playing zones that you're playing with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got 2 flags on your waist. You pull the flag. That's a tackle, loss of a down, I guess, if you don't make to half. What's the clock like? What's that like?
Usually we play with 25-minute halves.
Okay.
It's kind of just 2 halves there. So it is quite a quick game, and the clock like stays running. There's a few rules like the last 2 minutes, like stop it and stuff like that. But so it's a quick game. You keep going.
Does anything with flag football now being the Olympics, are they going to play to like international rules, or are the Olympic rules slightly different to the rules that you would normally play like here in Canada?
From my understanding, it's going to be the same as how we play here, the 5-on-5. There is the FIFA plays 7-on-7, and that's kind of a bit of a different rule. Our fall youth league follows that, but it's a little different. That's like been established from when people used to play touch. So I think it will fall more to like the 5-on-5 flag side that we see now and what we play at nationals, and that's what they have been playing at those international competitions.
Do you have any sort of like go-to moves that you feel like, yeah, that's my signature move right there?
For sure, the spin move. And if you've seen me on the basketball court, I use that as well. So it's kind of, I use it in basketball and flag as well. It's the spin move.
Yeah.
I'm constantly hitting that. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you see Brenna coming. You gotta watch out because you're gonna put you in the spin cycle. All right. With that, we'll take a quick break and we'll hear a word from our sponsors. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's never been more affordable to stay connected. Wireless International long-distance rates are now more affordable than ever. Visit sastel.com/long-distance for more details. Again, that's sastel.com/long-distance for more details. All right, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Brenna, so I want to talk about basketball now. And you guys have a busy preseason, right? You guys, just tell us where you guys, all the places you guys traveled to and played before the actual season started.
Mm-hmm. So we had 14 preseason games.
14? 1-4?
1-4 leading up to our season.
Oof.
Yeah, so it was a bit crazy. We started out that first trip when we went to the Virgin Islands. So that was really fun. I enjoyed that trip. We played 2 games there against Wichita State. They were good games. Yeah, we gave them a run for their money. That's kind of the same thing we saw in Greece when we were playing those D1 teams. So that was great to see. Like, we went in, we gave them a good game. I think the first game we only lost by 1 or 2 points there. So that kind of gave us some confidence to go into the next game. And those 2 games for sure carried with us, hey, we're going to this preseason pretty strong here.
And it set the tone for everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys went to the Virgin Islands in July or August?
Yeah, end of July. Yeah.
End of July, yeah. So that's when it started. And you went all across Canada from the Maritimes all the way over to the Pacific Coast and Victoria, played a lot of teams. But I had the pleasure and very fortunate opportunity to accompany you and your team on a trip to northern BC to the Nisga'a Nation. And I learned a lot about your team and yourself on this trip. You want to know one of the things that I discovered about you?
Yeah.
All right. So I learned that you're a little bit superstitious.
That's true. That is.
A little bit or very superstitious? How would you describe that?
To quote Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious.
A little stitious. Okay. Well, the Nisga'a Nation is it is in northern BC, north of Terrace. It is an indigenous community, a series of communities in northern BC, and the team went there they invited us to their communities to play in a basketball tournament, which we played other teams. And on this trip, it was also a learning experience. We learned about the culture, we learned about the land, and also picked up a lot of stories and folklore. And from the guides that we had, we heard a lot about Bigfoot and heard some very compelling stories about Bigfoot.
Yes, we did.
And you even got some, very interesting souvenirs. Tell us about that aspect of the trip and listening to these stories and what you enjoyed about that.
I think what I really enjoyed about that is kind of, I've seen Bigfoot and stuff like that on TV, like Hunting Bigfoot, shows like that. And I find them quite interesting. But I've never met people in person who actually have stories or believe in this. So that was quite interesting to me. And of course, that came when we hit the first bus ride, when we were going to that first reserve there. I was like, the forest here, everything is great. Like, this just looks like the exact scenery you would expect.
It's the perfect setting for a story
exactly.
like Bigfoot.
So that helped me kind of like play into this. And I was like very curious because, of course, that breakfast, the first day we were there, I heard, oh, have you talked to anyone about Bigfoot? Like, there's so many stories about Bigfoot. Like, they've seen them, they know. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I really want to hear about this now. I want to hear about everyone's experience with this. Like, do they go hunting for Bigfoot, or is this just, hey, we're on our morning walk or something like that, and we just happen to see him cruising by, gives us a little wave or whatnot.
So I know you were looking for Bigfoot every time you went on the road out there. Mm-hmm. What was the most compelling story you heard when you were there about Bigfoot?
It was actually from our bus driver. He said he was out on the lake because he takes some of the kids on canoe trips. They go up by the coast and go all the way up to Alaska there. And he said he was on the shore kind of like getting stuff ready, getting the boats ready, and he could hear some rustling in the bushes across. And, you know, he kind of like looked up, didn't think much of it, just probably a wild animal, like watched lots of wildlife over there. And then he heard some rustling again. It was a little bit early in the morning, so it was a little bit darker. And then he looks across the lake, he sees it again. But then he sees a tall stature, kind of man-like but huge, just walking along the forest. And he was like, yeah, that was Bigfoot. And I was like, you were so nonchalant about that, but that's crazy.
They had a lot of stories like that about Bigfoot. Shout out, by the way, to our bus driver, Jerry. Jerry is actually an elder from Nisga'a Nation, and we had the pleasure and the privilege to have him tour us around and show us the land and the country and share a lot of stories with us. Jerry no longer keeps cats because they keep disappearing for some reason.
Yeah.
So it could be Bigfoot taking his cats. But I got a couple pictures of you striking the Sasquatch pose. That was sort of your signature move on the trip.
I said if I hit a three-pointer, I was going to do it.
Did you?
On the court. No, I didn't.
Yeah, we didn't get that opportunity. But you guys had a hell of a good game. That final game against UVic had the whole village just shaking the rafters. That was a exciting game. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, they're a really tough team. They're really quick. They pressed us kind of right out of the bat. That was the first time we kind of really saw an aggressive press like that or had that kind of pressure on us the whole game. Of course, like, we're playing in those gyms, and they're like kind of look like a little high school gym, like whatever. But I think that made it 20 times more exciting.
They're small and intimate spaces.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I found that was great. Like, the crowd was going, everyone's screaming, we're screaming. Like, so there was just a lot going on. There's a lot of excitement. Of course, I felt both teams, we were playing for more than our teams and more for this win, because of what clans we were assigned. So we were the Wolf Clan, if everyone didn't know that. So our team's howling, half the gym's howling for us. So we were really playing for that community as well.
Yeah.
So I think that just made the game so much more intense, is because you're playing for everyone in here, even the other clan at this point, because we really wanted to give them a good game and really wanted to finish the tournament out like with a bang and give them the experience of youth sport basketball in their community, and to really inspire the kids to keep playing and keep continuing with athletics. So, yeah.
I will say, if the audience, I will say, if you want to know more about the women's basketball team's trip to Nisga'a Nation in BC, we have an 8-minute video that documents that whole experience. So that's why I had the pleasure of accompanying the team. I went and I had the video camera on the entire time to document all the activities the team did on and off the court. So when you spoke about representing the Wolf Clan, we have all that in the video that explains what the whole process was. And you can also see, Brenna in action, fresh off of flag football and putting those quick hands and quick feet into practice, because the team went undefeated in all the games it played. So I won't give too much more spoilers, but if you want to see the basketball team's trip to the Nisga'a Nation, it will be on the U of R Cougars YouTube channel. Just go there and you can look it up and check it out. So yeah, a quick plug for that. But you mentioned there just now, how those games meant more because you're playing for the clan, you're playing for the community, and you want to inspire the kids to not just get into basketball, but get into sports and be active. I know that's something that you and the team do a lot of, especially here in Regina. When it comes to Indigenous communities, you guys do a lot of work with Living Skies basketball. You want to explain a little bit what the Living Skies program is and what you and your team's involvement is with that program?
So yeah, Living Skies is an Indigenous basketball program. They run it here in Regina. They travel to Saskatoon and kind of around the Saskatchewan area. They go into some of the schools and kind of give that outreach and provide camps. They play a league. They go to Martinsville. And they play some basketball there. They have an established league and have teams going. We've helped a lot with some of the camps in Regina mostly, whether that's at some of the elementary schools. We just kind of go talk to the kids, like just really get to know them. And then, of course, we had that afternoon game on the one Friday and kind of invited, that wasn't just even Living Skies kids, but I actually found out we kind of had a little time on the court to talk with some of the kids. Like there was a few that had driven about an hour and a half from outside reserves or stuff like that, and just really to come to the game. And Living Skies also provides that for them, like transportation and that stuff to and from the games, which is great because I don't know how else you would expect them to get here from Saskatchewan or around Saskatchewan. So our most recent work we've kind of done with them is right before Christmas. They held a basketball camp at one of the elementary schools in Regina, and we had a few players from our team and the men's basketball team just kind of go there, run them through some dribbling, just kind of stuff like that. Mostly get to know the kids and talk to them after. Because I think that's the biggest part. Like they want to learn basketball and we can teach them a lot, but a lot of it is just establishing a connection.
Yeah, and when you guys go out and you work in a community with these kids, what are some of the engagement levels you see from them? Are they excited to see you guys? What are some of the questions that they ask you? Do they ask you questions at all? Or how interested are they in the sport of basketball? What's that whole experience like?
We kind of see a wide variety when the kids are first introduced to us. Like a few kids will come up to us right away, be like, "Hi, like you're number 13 or whatever like that. Oh, I saw you're in the game." And lots of kids are really standoffish at first. Yeah. And it really takes a lot. We just kind of go and break them out of their shell. And then once that happens, it's like all the kids just want to know about your life, not even necessarily basketball and stuff like that. Question-wise, we get a lot like, when did you start playing basketball? Kind of those basic questions, but a lot of the kids just want to play 1v1 against us.
What's the most memorable question or thing that one of these kids have said to you that you can share?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably just, how are you able to do this? And I think that it doesn't sound like that crazy of a question, but I think when they look at this, and even when I probably was that age and I looked at someone like myself, like it is kind of hard to believe how are you able to play a university sport, attend university, and get to where you are. And I definitely came from a privileged family, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in that sense. So even looking at it, I was like, I can make it there. But even they're looking at like, how do you drive to and from practice? How are you able to do all of these things? And I think lots of that comes, maybe they don't have family support at home, or they just can't like afford or come to these programs. So I think with Living Skies, they've really given that opportunity to younger kids to be able to play sports or play basketball and stuff like that.
So how do you answer that question when they ask you, Brenna, how are you able to do this? I feel you've had a lot of time to think about a response to a question like that. What do you say to them?
I kind of just say to them, like, you work really hard, you make sure you have your goals, and I like to tell them to reflect on what you think about what you want in your life and how you're going to move forward from this, and kind of just work as hard as you can. And if you really want something, it will happen if you put in the work, if you put in the time. And whether that's coming in school or sports, anything like that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you say, they know you by your number. Let's speak about your number. We know you're a little bit stitious, mm-hmm. and you wear number 13. Mm-hmm. And is there any connections to you being a little bit superstitious and you wearing number 13?
I just say lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Have you had that number in your entire career? What was your numbers like? What were those?
When I was younger, I did number 4 because my older cousin who actually played hockey at the U of R, she was number 4. So I was like, okay, I want to be like her. I'm going to be number 4. And then I think it was start of high school, honestly. It was just kind of like limited with jersey numbers. And I was like, I saw that number 13. I was like, lucky number 13. And then that just became my number from then on out.
There we go. One of the other things I discovered about you on this trip to Northern BC is that speaking with the other girls on the team, we did this thing where we were like, who's the mom on the team, and in terms of the players, like which of your teammates is like the mom figure for the team, mm-hmm. and found out that Maddie Seda is the team's mom. Everybody agreed that Maddie Seda was the mom on the team. Do you know what they said about you?
No, and I'm kind of a little nervous about what they said.
Oh, well, let me just break the news. Brenna Metz is the comedian on the team.
Okay, yeah.
Does that add up for you?
I think it adds up. I don't want to toot my own horn too much, but I think it adds up.
Oh, you got a future in stand-up, maybe?
Yeah.
You like to have fun.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You had a lot of fun on that trip.
Yeah, honestly, thinking back, not even thinking back, I think that was my favorite trip, even over Greece, over the Virgin Islands. That was my favorite trip.
The trip to the Nisga'a Nation? Mm-hmm. And why was that?
There was so much more, like we got, as you said, so much culture out of it. There was so much to learn from there, and so much like I took away from that. And not even just like life experience, but I was so fascinated with the community there and how they were able to put this tournament on. And I know we talked about Living Skies, and like they do a great job here, and they have us, and they have the support from other basketball communities and stuff like that to go into this. And they don't necessarily have that there. Like they put this tournament on themselves. They fundraised the money for this because they really wanted to have this experience for their youth there. And I thought that was insane. Like that was crazy. And I really hope it grows next year. I mean, talking to some of the organizers, they wanted some men's teams to come down and even expand it to 8 teams then, 4 women, 4 men's. And I was like, that would be great. Like that would give so much more to those kids to see that. It was also just, like we said, culturally with the stories, but even like post games when we got those little lunch bags that they made us, and I got a salmon sandwich. I was like, this is the best salmon sandwich that I've ever had. And they're like, well, we've fished this. Like we got this morning. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, so it was definitely like more of a family thing.
Yeah.
Like they brought us into their community. Like even our bus driver, Jerry, took us to his home because he had to let his dogs out on our bus ride home. So it was like, wow, like we're part of their lives now.
Yeah. And he gave us some smoked salmon on that little stop to his home. The salmon, by the way, in the Nass River that runs through the Nisga'a Nation, Jerry, or bus driver and the elder for Nisga'a Nation, he let us know that, on any given day during the salmon season, they pull out about 3,000 pounds of salmon out of that river. 3,000 pounds of salmon in one day. Just one day. It's crazy. But I'll drop another plug. If you want to see the story from the trip to Nisga'a Nation, it's on the Regina Cougars YouTube channel. You can check that out now. But yeah, we've got the amazing Brenna Metz here on the show. We're gonna wrap this up. Now, Brenna. But let's just talk about the basketball season. That's happening right now. It is January, and you guys are making, push into the second half of the season. You guys just played MacEwan University last weekend, and I couldn't help but notice you got really excited on a certain play in the second half when you got fouled and made the shot.
Oh, yes.
You got an and one, the kids would call it, and one. Tell me about that play and why were you so excited?
Honestly, the excitement didn't even come from my shot. It was the pass Taylor gave me from the baseline because she was just running through there like her face is like, because she's getting double teamed right there, and I'm cutting from the 3 on the 45 there just down to the key, and that pass just. It was slow motion for me, honestly. It just somehow went right through this girl's arms, and I was like, I don't even know how she got that out. So it was more that, and then we actually watched the play in film, and it's funny because you can see me jumping and Taylor jumping, and we go to like high five, and Kara's on the ground beside me, laying there dead. And I told her, I was like, I'm sorry, I could have helped you up, but I didn't even know you were there.
The play was so good you had to go back to the film and watch it again. I'm sure winning games are fun. What about losing games? How do you manage losing games? Because, and the reason I asked this question is, I've got a pretty high expectations for the women's basketball team. You guys have been very successful for pretty much the entire time I've been here at the university, and it's almost 15 years. I expect you guys to go to nationals and make a push for the title, the national championship title. So when you guys lose a game, like you did first regular season game of this season, you lost to Lethbridge. I'm like, oh, girls, come on. Why we are losing games that I am not expecting you guys to lose? How do you manage losing games?
I think it definitely comes in different ways for different people. Of course, our 2 losses this past semester, I think it was really tough for a lot of us because we knew those games we were not even close to hitting any of our individual potential or our team potential. So those are always hard because you always feel like you're left, you could have done more in those situations. But I guess with our first loss against Lethbridge, it was really, we had that discussion, and I remember thinking about it right after the game, about how much drive they had and looking at their team. And we were like, we knew they're a good team. We knew that going in, but we knew we could get a win out of it. So I think when especially for myself, I kind of obviously reflect on how I played it within the game, but I really noticed how they were pushing and they just really looked like they wanted that win. So we talked about that a bit after the game. Like, we just didn't look like we had the drive to win. So I think that was just like, hey, we need to wake it up here. Like, this is regular season. Like, let's go. It was kind of just that snap back to reality for that next game to just kind of give it that extra push and the extra want. So that kind of carried over, I felt, into our next few games after that. And then our last loss right before Christmas to MRU, they were hitting every shot, but we were also missing every shot. So I think
Sometimes you just can't buy a bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we get in those situations, we kind of lose our identity as a team of being a quick cutting offense, moving the ball. And I think we get quite in our heads. And that's something we need to really fight as a team, for sure, because we all want the best for not only ourselves, but for each other because of how closely knit we are as a team.
Yeah. This was an awesome episode. Learned lots. But let me just do something just kind of off script here. We have Joe Kaplan in the room here. Regina Rams football extraordinaire. Joe, do you got any questions you want to ask Brenna here about her flag football experience?
I guess I would ask, I think we touched on it a little bit, but I think I'm curious to know what about flag itself, like...
Hang on. I could hear the audience right now saying, why don't you just get Joe on the camera and on the mic here? So I'm gonna, Joe, I warmed the seat up a little bit. It's a little bit hot, but how about I just put you in the chair for one question? So come in here.
I'll give Joe a shout out too. He was at that Regina Flag Nationals.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
I did.
Yeah, on the men's team that year. Did you guys win that year?
We did win, yeah.
Yeah. It was both the men's and the girls and boys team, I guess, at that time. Both our teams won.
Yeah, I guess, hold on. My question was kind of like, what about flag drew you guys in so much? You talked about a little bit how, you played for fun at first, and then as it became more competitive, you enjoyed it so much. But what about that sport itself versus other sports drew you guys in?
I think it's just how I developed in this sport, like how it started out as, like basketball, of course, like there's always been from when we were younger, like a female league. So I think I really grew up with the sport and like developed with it from how it was when I first started playing when I was younger, just playing with boys and not really having that female teams and not really having it I wouldn't even say tailored, but really as an option for young girls at the time. So I think how I was just able to grow and develop with the sport really makes it one of my favorites now, just because I would have never guessed from where I started to where it is now that, hey, it's an Olympic sport. Hey, this is a possibility for me to be playing at this level.
Right, yeah. You guys were kind of, as you were growing and developing as flag football players, so were the leagues and the support from the community.
For sure.
And I imagine that the football kind of community in Saskatchewan and culture in Saskatchewan would have had a part of that as well.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. This has been the Scratching Post presented by SaskTel. Thanks again for staying here, being with us. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Brenna, for being on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you to producer EJ in the back there, and Joe also joining us as well, one of our interns here. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us. This is a Scratching Post podcast presented by SaskTel. If you like what you heard, if you like what you saw, you can find more episodes like this at the link in our bio or wherever you subscribe and get your podcasts. Also subscribe to our YouTube, and you can watch more content like this on there and much, much more. So until next time, take care of yourself and be kind. I'm Arthur Ward, and this is the Scratching Post presented by SaskTel. I'll see you next time.